I work with a lot of founders and small, big dreams. And I'm like, okay, well, how are you different? Because it's really crowded out there. What's going to be different about you that resonates with the customer? But I want marketers to ask, what's your revenue goal? What's your margin goal? What's your time horizon? I want creative people to ask, how are you different? What is your business goal? And what do customers expect from you?
Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. Here it is. I'm excited. Why am I excited? Is it that pumpkin coffee I have now and the fact that it may actually be officially fall? No, but that too. But no, my guest today, I'm excited to talk to her. She is in high demand. And if you try to get on the calendar, good luck, because she is busy sprinkling marketing magic all over the place. And we'll talk more about that. But who is she, Casey? Who is she? A marketing leader, a thought leader, strategic leader in that sense, a catalyst, revenue accelerator, productivity orchestrator. I have words for days, but really a builder and a fixer. That's what we're talking about here. Honored as Crane Chicago's Business Notable Executives in Marketing. She won the Best Launch Campaign from the B2B Marketer Awards. Let's freaking go. Can't wait to learn about that. Formerly of Double Good, now a savvy CMO for hire, Laura Luckman-Kelber. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm very excited to be here. I can't wait to get into it and throw some mud a little bit.
Yeah, let's go. We can always bleep things out if we need to. So,
All right, yes, because I do swear.
all right, well, let's bring it. Well, I know Chicago. I mean, you guys are a little crazy out there. So, all right, Laura, here's this thing. I know it's heavy, but you guys are built tough out there. So, okay, here you go. Go ahead, grab Thor's hammer. You got it?
I'm going to grab it.
Wow, that was impressive. Okay, take Thor's hammer and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, a bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
Yes, everyone thinks that marketing is magic and all you need is one viral video and you will make billions. And that is wrong. And I don't know why people believe it, because they won't believe it for a P&L. They won't believe it for business plan. They won't believe it for building an app and creating engineering stuff, right? So why do they believe it? Because marketers and consultants have created a world where they go out and say, I made this video for $7,000, like the Deathwater guy, and I've created $1 billion company. It's just not true. It's just not true. I work with lots of entrepreneurs and I see what they go through, especially in the package goods space. And it's a grind. And you can grind it out and do it, but you have to be ready for it. And you need cash flow. You need to understand your margins. You need to understand what your revenue goal is. You need to understand what your time horizon is. And then you plot out your priorities and get it done. But it is not a magical viral video. Viral is not even a thing. If something goes viral, it means that they attached themselves to someone with an actual following, an influencer who actually has reach, right? The old school reach and frequency numbers. It's like, no, it's not magic. It's hard freaking work and takes discipline and knowledge. So it makes me a little crazy. I actually won't buy that water. I was at a concert last night. I actually will pay money for I was dying of thirst. I would not buy the water.
Wait, which water?
I think I blocked the name.
Is it Liquid Death?
Yeah, Liquid Death. I call it the Death Water.
Yeah, I had to explain it to a good friend the other day. They're like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "No, it's water." They're like, "What?" They're like, "All of that is just." I'm like, "I know."
I mean, it's a smart concept. I'll give him for the concept, but he didn't build it based off of a viral video.
Is that what he says? He says he did all of that off of the 7.
He went all through press and had CFOs talk to me about this. And I'm like, that is just not true. So you waste all this time educating and educating and educating, and you could just cut to the chase if there wasn't this misinformation out there, and spend your time actually doing the work you need to do to grow your company.
See, like, it also reminds me of the people that are in, like, the fake, private jets. It's like the interior that looks like it is one. They rent it for an Instagram photo or for a 7K video, but it's like the shell of one.
Yes, and that's scary from another level, like what's real, what's not real, and how are we teaching kids about that? I know that's off on not a marketing tangent, but it's sort of a real scary thing.
Well, we are nothing if not a tangent machine here on the Hardcore Marketing Show. So by all means, if you see one, take it and go with it. But like, let's talk about this. Where does this perception come from? I mean, you mentioned this guy, but like, is it inside the organization? Why do the leaders think that way?
I think he's an egregious example, right? He's the long tail version of that. But I think over the years, marketers have somewhat done it to themselves, because there are marketers that feel more comfortable. When I think about the 4 Ps, okay, audience, there's things called the 4 Ps: product, place, price, promotion. Product, place, and price are really important, and you need to focus on those things, especially in today's environment, strategically. But there is I shouldn't say most, but there is a large contingent of marketers that only focus on promotion. And that's a problem, because that's just a very small piece. And if you don't have a solid product, like, I'll give the Death Water guy credit for having a really good product idea, and investing in that idea. Or I just recently worked with a small entrepreneur who's killing it here in Chicago, called Chicago Style. She's making Chicago style potato chips in hot dog, pizza, Italian beef flavor, and her packaging is perfect. But she basically really thought about her product and launched it in a space that's super crowded and is flying off the shelves, right? So that's keep out about product, focus on product, right? So I think part of it's that. I think part of it is, I've been in the tech business for a long time, a lot of B2B enterprise tech with Plexera, building a user experience design firm at Sandstorm, sort of on the cutting edge of when the web started, all of that stuff. And I think when that happened, there were entrepreneurs and innovators and consultants who wanted to carve out a new world for themselves. And they abandoned the 4 Ps and renamed them. So in the tech world, it's really interesting because you have product people in the tech world. Well, I would compare them to a brand manager at a CPG firm, right? Because they're analytical. They're analytical. They understand budgets, time horizons, the context for their product, how it gets made, right? A CPG would look at manufacturing specs and sourcing. A product tech person would look at engineering and code and how are they going to create this product and build it with engineers. It's just a different way to manufacture, right? But they created this whole separate, in tech companies, you have a marketing team and you have a product team. And when I went in, I was like, well, it should all be together because we're all talking to the same customer. And it's getting harder and harder to do promotions, especially with AI. You really, really need to think about your product, place, and price it strategically before you go out there and sort of start creating content or start creating a reputation. You need to engage and you need to build with your customer, and then think about promotion, right? But that's not sexy. That's not. I mean, you see how the press that Crate and Barrel's getting. Crate and Barrel. Oh my God, Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. Oh yeah.
So Cracker Barrel with their logo, and you have CFOs and CEOs sort of write off that stuff as fluff. But they must have really gone awry in terms of thinking where their position was in the market and where their differentiator was, and it's hitting their numbers, right? So it's not fluff, it's not magic. It needs discipline, it needs focus, it needs analytical skills, and not everyone can do it.
We see the issue now. We kind of get a sense from where it comes from. How do you start shifting this in the right direction in an organization?
I think you need to come in and you need to understand the business, marketers. You need to get close with your CFO. You need to understand the numbers. You need to understand what's your revenue, what's your margin, and what is the goal and the time horizon. Coming from PE, it's funny, I'll coach marketers and they'll say, well, that's not the right system. To do CRM right, you need to have like this and this and this. And I said, but what's your budget and what's your time horizon and what's your goal? You're not going to get the perfect CRM system if it doesn't fit all of those things. You got to start there first. And you really got to build a relationship with your financial team. Everybody's always talking about the sales team and the marketing team. Yes, you have to have that relationship, but you really need to understand your business. And you know what? Business is run by numbers. And it's not scary. It's pretty. I find a lot of marketing problems are more amorphous, harder to sort of see the pattern, harder to like figure out what the challenge is. You look at your numbers, it's black and white. And you can back into those numbers. And you can also say, hey, look, from what I've seen and our priorities, here's what I can do for you, CFO and CEO. I need your help talking to the sales, like in the B2B enterprise side, if you have a sales team, I need your help talking to the sales team because here's the constraints we have. Here's what I can do. And here's where I'm good at thinking creatively about it. Like, say you don't have money for a blowout CRM system or tracking system or whatever. Maybe you do have money for an online community and you have a community manager and you start cultivating conversations and connections that way. Or you don't have money for paid media. Paid media is crazy expensive. So what do you do with your current customers? How do you work with your sales team to create really scrappy but consistent messaging when they're reaching out? How do you help them scale? How do you create a logo, maybe with a tagline, because people don't know who you are, and keep that lockup all the time? Because that's reach and frequency. It's just not, paid media. So I think you need to think about the business first. And I'm not sure everyone always does. I think they come in and they think, and I love marketers. I love talking to them, but I've talked to so many that come in and say, but that's not the right way. And I'll say, no, but you're in this environment. So yeah, you can dream about that right way all you want, but you don't have the space to do that. So you're going to be gone because you're not fixing the challenge you have in front of you. And, I think that's fun, but I'm atypical, everybody always says. I have my MBA from a finance school. So I really actually love looking at the numbers. I also love the creative side too, but you're building a business. You're not building an art project.
Wow. I feel like we need to clip that. You're building a business, not an art project. Shots fired. Laura Luckman-Kelber. Let's go. Mic drop. Boom. Yeah, but it's true, right? And maybe this atypical should be more typical.
Yeah, and I think there are some, but it's frustrating actually as I'm out here talking to people because they expect one thing and then they get me and they're like, "Are you a marketer?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but you have to think about your business." He's like, I always get people saying you really sound like a COO, which I've done too. But you need that. It needs to be embedded in your business in a way that you think through every step, like a classic brand manager at a CPG company had been always trained to do.
What's funny is I can imagine all the graphic people out there disowning you, but what's like, it's so truthful and telling. We should act more like COOs, right?
I know, but you need your creative to work hard too. You need excellent, insightful creative. You need to push it. You can't have boring creative either. So it's sort of like this balance, but your creative needs to come from a strategic place. And any good creative person worth their salt will agree with you. Well, what's your strategy, Laura? Right. They're not just going to show you. If a creative person doesn't ask you these questions, then they're just doing art. And I have a lot of creative friends. I mean, I was raised in a creatively led agency, DDB, and I believe in the power of an idea and of an interesting idea, but it needs to be anchored into an insight. It needs to have strategy behind it.
Well, you're saying like if the creative needs to come from a strategic place. If they're not asking you these questions, it's an art project. Like it's useless. Like that is the teaser for this episode. Like that is so truth telling though. That's a litmus test. If you're in a conversation with a marketer and they don't ask you these questions, they're being an art designer, right? They're not being a strategic marketer. And so it's a wake up call for us and a wake up call for anyone else. If you're talking to someone and they don't, so what are these questions? What do you want someone to ask? What's like the litmus test that, okay, they're being strategic?
I want someone to ask, what's your goal? Who's your customer? What is your revenue goal? Now, a creative person might not ask these particular questions, but they will ask questions about the business. Like, wait a minute, there's 10 other people with this color or this tagline. How are you different? How are you different? What's different about you? How do you want to be perceived as different in the market? And then that'll really get you thinking. Now, what this sometimes does is have people think, oh, shoot, I'm not different, right? These are hard questions for entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of founders and small, big dreams. And I'm like, okay, well, how are you different? Because it's really crowded out there. What's going to be different about you that resonates with the customer? But I want marketers to ask, what's your revenue goal? What's your margin goal? What's your time horizon? I want creative people to ask, how are you different? What is your business goal? And what do customers expect from you?
Can we talk about this? How are you different? Because I feel like that gets like overlooked so often, probably because it's one of the harder questions to answer. And if you don't answer it, you're like straight up just 100% commoditized at that point. Now we're just comparing like how expensive are you versus how cheap somebody else is. And we're just gonna go with them because you're not different. You're the same. You're just water in a can.
Now, I have branded banks. I have branded, think about, I've branded telcos. So here's how you can get to that. And you don't have to do big research to get to this. Okay. You just have to be thoughtful about your questions. One is dive deep in the company you're in and ask everybody in the company. I have a list. I actually have an open-ended questionnaire. It's too long for this conversation. But start to ask them questions about their business, across the business, cross-functionally. Aggregate that, and you will start to see a pattern, or you will be able to find something that says, oh, this is why you exist. Do you know you exist this way? I did it at Flexera too, that no one could describe what they did. And I had to simplify it. That's how we went through an exit, is that we finally simplified what they did. We actually had to portion out 2 products because they had different customers, different reasons for being, and so you do that, and then you can do somewhere else, scrappy, open-ended qual. I mean, if you look at UX, you only need 4 or 5 users to tell you what's wrong or good about your website. Take that principle, talk to 10 people that are in your target market, ask them some open-ended questions, and guess what? You'll see a pattern. You match the 2 together, and then you come up with, okay, this is our point of difference. This is our point of difference. But you have to do a little upfront due diligence.
You do. You really do.
You can use ChatGPT to help you, right? It's a good tool, but it's only a piece. It's only they might come up with some. If you're stuck on questions, I'm sure they can come up with templated questions you can start from.
Yeah, I could see that. I love the conversation mode with AI, and because you get to have a real conversation. And listen to me saying you get to have a real conversation. You get to do like like verbal, which sometimes is how I think out loud. But yeah, you're right. You can don't ask for the answer. Say like, hey, ask me 10 questions that might help us suss out how we're different, how we could be different.
And it's a good starting place. I don't know that it would be entirely, but if you're nervous about it or you're got this blank page fear, start there.
Branding a bank. I mean, banks are pretty dang it's like you give us money, we hold on to it, we give it back to you, maybe.
I had this experience where we were in a workshop for this regional bank. And they're like, well, we care about our customers and we're here for the community. And I'm like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then I started asking deeper questions. Well, can you give me an example? And then I found out that they basically had like an incubator for businesses in their small rural community, like in 1871 here in Chicago. You know, the business incubators all over the place now. And I said, oh my gosh, here's your differentiator. You're actually giving entrepreneurs a space to start to cultivate their business without charging them. They're helping them with their business plans, for God's sake. You know, they started with these boring answers, and I'm like, okay, snooze fest. And then we got to this little nugget. And that's what then goes to your creative people, because then they can build something differentiating.
Oh man. And these are C-suite conversations, you know. This has to be everyone talking through this and also really understanding your customer, you know?
Yes, and you'd be surprised at the people inside a business that really do understand the customer, but they're not being heard. And so if you can come in and give them a voice, that way you get a lot of head nods. And also that's a critical point for any lead marketer. You got to bring people along. And it's a lot of work and it's not sexy. It's like a lot of conversations. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of writing again. It's a lot of conversations. It's writing things down in a plan to track quarterly, monthly, annually. That's part of it, though. That's part of it. That's why it's not magic. It's like, do you know how much work it is to do it well? A lot of work.
And you know what? Like it kind of reminds me of that whole carpenter thing, you know, measure twice, cut once. Like you mentioned, do the work. It's not always sexy. Yeah, there's customer conversations, there's internal you need to do the work long before it's ever some branded, beautiful thing that someone somewhere.
Yes, and that's how it gets to be that beautiful thing. I actually stopped watching Mad Men the first or second episode because they had the creative guy walk into a meeting and pull an idea out of the sky, and I was so mad because I had been educating clients forever about you can't just do that. It doesn't happen.
How do you like to learn? How do you like to stay in the loop and feed your brain?
Okay, I'm a podcast junkie. I also read. I read actual books of all different persuasions. And if someone recommends a book, I do it. I also mentor a lot, business people and younger people. And I learn a lot from that. I'm an investor, so I have to do in due diligence, right? So I actually just lost money on a deal, but that's what happens when you're an angel.
Did you was that you going all in on Cracker Barrel about 2 weeks ago? Was that you? Yeah. Did you long it? Did you like this is gonna go up?
I mean, here's the thing. I come from tech mostly and financial services and et cetera. And I have been doing a lot of CPG stuff lately. And those little packaged good companies I don't know how they do it. The cash flow is insane. It's insane. But it gives you a lot of insight into other businesses and margins and things like that. So I'm sort of curious about being in it. I think maybe that's my learning mode is like, ooh, give me a problem. Can I figure it out?
So, do you have a book recommendation if you're reading lots of books lately?
Okay, there's a great book, which is not a business book. Yeah, it's about face blindness. So it's this journalist who finds out that she's face blind and she goes on this journey with academics to find out how we process ideas, imagery, concepts, and how our processing of images changes how we process the world and communicate. It's fascinating. I think marketers would like it from just how your brain works perspective. And I can't remember. Do I Know You? I think that's the name of the book.
You will do. Do I know you? That's our guess. But if you're really curious and you're listening to this, we'll have figured it out by the time this comes out, and we'll put it in the show notes of like that mystery book we were talking about equals this, and we'll link to it so everyone can just go to it. But yeah, that sounds fantastic. The idea of just images and processing and understand how that works. Don't we even see upside down or something like that, and then our brain flips it for us? It's weird, right?
Well, she doesn't talk about that, but she does talk about how we process like faces. So so if you had an issue with one eye, if you were lazy eye or something happened, you may be faceline and some other issues with your processing because our brain takes both eyes and merges the imagery in your head. So there are people who've had surgeries to fix a lazy eye when they are young, but it only fixes it cosmetically. And so you don't get the brain action. And so there are ways, there are exercises. Academics are creating these exercises for people like this to try and train their brain. But it is jarring to people who have lived most of their lives processing a different way. And now they're processing a new way. And she talks about that. It's fascinating.
Okay, well, that's cool. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
It's an easy read. It's fun. She's got a sense of humor. It's real fast read.
Sick. Well, my next question really is like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know all these things? Can you take us back in time? Little Laura days, did you know you're gonna be a marketing leader? Really a leader of leaders and a thought leader and all these things. What was it like growing up, you?
I was always this intense and this energetic. So I was involved in a million things. I was really good at school. And I loved to read. And then I was into the arts. So I was a ballerina from like age 4 to 18. And I was intense about it. I actually have arthritis in my toes because of it. But I modeled and I acted and I danced and I did all these things. In the end, I had a horrible eating disorder. And so I walked away from all of that. And also my parents had like this immigrant mentality. And so I had to like do something practical. So initially I was going to law school. So I actually was a political science major and went to law school, and I got to law school and I hated it. And I thought they were brainwashing me and I quit. And then I was like, oh, it's really bad economy. Now what do I do? And I was working retail in coconuts. No one on our podcast probably knows what coconuts was, but I worked at a record store through high school and college, and I'm a music freak, and I worked retail, and I thought, oh my God, I was this person that, I was going to be so successful, and I'm working in a coconuts. And I figured out that I could be an event planner. I worked in nonprofit. Too slow for me, way too slow for me. And then I found I had to get my MBA. So I went back to Illinois, got my MBA, almost got my CPA, which is crazy. I should have probably, but I didn't. And then I got swept up in advertising. I worked at Discover, but I really, like my most favorite work experience was DDB Chicago. It was the most smartest, creative, talented people I ever worked with in my life. It was amazing. And then the dot bomb happened and it just got sad. Like, I think I lived through 16 rounds of layoffs in 5 years. Yeah. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, I think there was a layoff like every half or something. Like, it was crazy. And then I still loved advertising. So I lived in that world, small. Then I was at Havas. I built the Sprint account. I took it to the largest account in North America. I took it from 10 million to 25. That was fun. And then worked for Hip Hop Mobile at one point. That was not so fun for a short period of time. And then, I built a UX firm. So I'm always curious. So I have this sort of, so I built a small UX firm from $1 million to $5 million in 2 years. And then a client came a knocking and I went to work for a private equity backed software company. And that was fun as heck because that's when we first met. Because I took them, we were valued at $1.8 billion and then went to $3.85 billion in 3 years and sold to Thoma Bravo. And so that, I don't know, that's sort of like the long story short. And then I got poached by Doublegood to help them scale, and they were crazy because they were operating as a $10 million company when they were bringing in 110.
What a wild journey.
Yeah, it's fun. I need another adventure. I'm ready.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, the breadth of that experience is sometimes I've come because I've dabbled a little bit in like different departments, and I always felt like it was collecting like the little Trivial Pursuit wedges, and each one built a more full version of you. And man, your wedges are in there, right? From the agency and advertising world and UX, all these things. Where does it go? What's next for you, do you think?
Yeah, I want to get in and build something again. I love building. I love building. So I don't know what vertical that is. Everybody always asks me that, but really it needs to be an organization that's looking for that truth, I guess. I'm not good at hiding what's really going on in your business. So once I find it, I'm gonna want to go fix it. And I'm gonna want to fix it fast. And not everybody wants that. I found that out the hard way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, some people are just totally happy to, like, fail slowly and get paid.
Yeah, or just coast enough that they can then sell and retire, right? And that's fine. That's their prerogative. So I just need to find that next fast-paced, collaborative challenge. Yeah, and probably mid-size, right? Because I need to make a decent living at this stage of life.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, well, you got the clout for it, you got the experience for it, and honestly, you the more an organization can bring to bear for you to leverage, the faster they're gonna grow. So, the larger the opportunity, the more you can get done, you know? Um, Bit of a hypothetical question for you next. Are you prepared for this? You ready? You can't be prepared, but you can be ready. All right. You see, I may or may not have a time machine here in New Hampshire. So you come visit, do a customer event in Boston, maybe it's interview in Boston or something. And you come on up north and we get some lobster and some beer and we use a time machine. Okay. It's in the backyard covered in a tarp. Don't tell anyone. Um, but it's a particular kind of time machine where you get to go back and visit yourself. And you get to visit yourself 4 days after graduating with that poli-sci degree. What do you say to yourself?
Oh gosh, be less scared. Don't be scared. Move to LA, move to New York. You liked the arts. You didn't even know what jobs were jobs. You just thought lawyer, doctor, business person. Be less scared. Go on that adventure and plunge into it because you will do it.
Oh, amazing. The funny follow-up to that is always, do you think you would listen to yourself?
No, because I was scared.
You'd be like, who's this crazy person from the future? Like, no, I'm you. Shake, shake, shake. I'm you.
No, I was scared. I was playing it too safe, I feel like.
Playing it safe.
Yeah.
Sounds like not anymore, though.
No, but I've learned the hard way with that too, though. I'm in between gigs. Now, granted, I've gone through an exit, I have a savings, but like, when you're this energetic, it's hard to not have, a thing.
Yeah. Like, let's go, right? It's like go time. What's going to be the next thing? So this is perfect. This is perfect. So we put a shout out there. Hey, where can people connect with you? Either they know a company, they are that company.
LinkedIn. I'm always checking my LinkedIn.
And we'll link right to your profile so people can just kind of clickety click, get right on there, say hi.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate it. I also am very active in the Economic Club of Chicago, the Executives Club of Chicago. And so if they are members, they can reach out to me through those member databases too.
Okay. Great. Man, Laura, I don't know if this has been in our own time warp, but this has been absolutely fantastic. I've learned so much from this conversation, some eye-opening mic drop moments, the idea of the building a business, not an art project. And that if you're creative, you know, doesn't ask these questions, they're not coming from a strategic place. Oh my gosh, you said it way better than I did, but like, how are you different? And understanding that and then doing the work. It's not always sexy, but get it done. The intensity of that has been so inspiring. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What a cool time. And for those listening, if you learned something, like I freaking did, I have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back. then share this
gosh.
with someone else. Be a thought leader. One person, 9,000 people, 324 people, whatever. Like, who needs to hear this? The next time you've got someone commoditized, send them a link to this episode. They really need to hear it. The next time you have an artsy marketer not ask those questions, send them a link to this episode and get them thinking strategic. With that, Laura, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, everyone. How about that? This has been a crazy cool, very exciting episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.